you'll make great money and have great impact if you collaborate. And I just want to say it again. I collaborate with people I met at the summit.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Exit Is Now podcast with me, your host, Scott Snider, sitting here with our 2024 Exit Planner of the Year, Amy Wirtz. Welcome, Amy. How's that feel?
Amazing.
You've been a SEPA for a long, long time.
2014.
2014, and I think that very well deserved. You've been,
Thank you.
I think, an inspiration to many inside of the SEPA community. A lot of our listeners saw you teach inside of the SEPA program. And you've played, obviously, a very near and dear place in my heart and my family's heart along the way. So thank you for everything that you've done. It's honestly quite an honor to finally get you on the show. And I guess you were on the show when in the studio, but get you on the Exit Planning Summit edition of the show here today. So I wanted to go back to your original story, if you don't mind me talking about how we were introduced, because I think it's just super unique. So Amy actually helped me through my divorce.
Yeah.
We did a dissolution, a collaborative way of getting a divorce. And Amy was one of the, I would say, number one top advisors inside of the Northeast, certainly Northeast Ohio community inside of that space. And you should tell your own story a little bit from my perspective. Mm-hmm. Once you got introduced to Dad and me and started learning about exit planning, you took that very collaborative approach and turned it into like a whole nother career. So kind of talk about that come from and where you first found us. Because when you first found us, you were doing the dissolutions.
Yeah, so I was introduced to EPI by an attorney in Elyria, Ohio named Kevin Donovan.
Oh, man,
who was
I remember
one
Kevin.
of your first members of your chapter, your first chapters in
Absolutely.
Cleveland. And he referred all his domestic work to me because he was a business lawyer. And we got to know each other. And he's like, Aim, this group talks about the 5 Ds, and you're involved in divorce, which is one of the 5 Ds, and I think they could really use your expertise. So I came to a meeting, and I met your dad, and your dad's like, why are you here again? And so we had lunch, and he was talking about the methodology, and I said, this is very similar to collaborative law.
Right.
Because we form a team around the couple.
Right.
You form a team around the owner.
Yep.
And he said, what we're struggling with is we have really, really smart people at the table,
right,
but they don't necessarily understand how to work together.
Yeah.
How is it that we do that as a team? We want to do it, but
Right.
it's complicated,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
Getting the people in the right roles, understanding the organizing principle. By the way, I loved what you did on that slide. That should be our new organizing principle. That methodology. So I went back to my training from the collaborative law community, the International Association of Collaborative Practitioners. I taught collaborative law there.
Yeah.
And I went to some of my teammates that teach with me, and I said, what do you think about this? And they're like, okay. And so your dad's like, pitch a training to us,
Yep.
right? And we'll talk to you. So I pitched it. It was too expensive. So Dad said, how about we give you the course,
Oh, right.
you check it out.
I do remember this, yes.
And you come see what it's like. And this is before you and I had the professional interaction that we did together.
Yes.
And I came to Chicago, and he's like, you can just, check this out. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to teach anything I don't know how to do.
Right.
So I did the whole class. And as I tell all you students out there, back in the Ice Ages, we actually took the test on Friday morning.
Yeah, you had to absorb all
Right,
that
all
knowledge
that.
over 4 days and then take the test.
Right, and I think there were maybe 50 people in our class
Yeah,
at
that's
the
probably
University
right.
Booth University
Yeah, back in Chicago.
building, right? Made some amazing friends in that class that I still stay in touch with.
Very cool.
And then got on the plane, and Chris and Scott were there, and I said I flunked, and they said you didn't flunk, and I said I flunked. I'm taking a test in over 20 years.
Yeah, I was going to say, right, a lot of our professional advisors haven't taken a big test for years.
Right. And
Yeah.
so I was like, not to do this, right? So one of the benefits of me having gone through the program then is that, when I do our faculty meetup reviews with our students, I'm like, dude, if I can pass it without days of study, without a study module, without all the tools you all have, you all can do it. And plus, they pass, a lot of these people have passed Series 7, which I think, and I've been told is harder than the bar exam.
Exactly.
So they can do that, they can do this.
They can do
right?
this. Yeah.
So that was the beginning nexus of our relationship with EPI. And when I started, Chris and Scott were not owners yet.
No, not yet. We were just getting integrated.
Right. And so kind of have had the privilege and honor of watching EPI transfer from Peter Chrisman and the other guy whose name I can never remember.
Rich Jackman.
Yep. To Chris and Scott.
Yep.
To Chris and Scott saying, okay, so we bought this thing, let's make it ours.
Mm-hmm.
Doing all the transition, I mean, like not using Peter's event planner.
Yeah, right.
You becoming the event planner,
right.
You growing.
Yeah,
hiring one outside person.
You've seen literally EPI at like 2 or 3 people. Yeah. Now you've seen it, and now you see it today at like 35 employees. So that's kind of a cool thing too.
It's so
take
fun.
That ride. So tell us about what you're doing today, though, because you've made like this really cool transformation. One of the many reasons I think that Amy won this award at the summit is because of all of your activity in the market. You are, I think I said this on stage, you are everywhere. So when you get nominated, we all start doing research on what have you been doing over the last kind of rolling 12 months from summit to summit. And you are speaking, you are teaching, you are writing new programs, you're working with your own clients. There's just so much activity and so much influence that you've had, but not in the same capacity when we first met.
Right,
so talk to me about what you're doing today and your passion today.
So I had the blessing of being introduced to Carmen Bianchi in California through the EPI Summit program.
Interesting.
She came and spoke about family business advisors. And I just looked at her and thought, that's fascinating. I could actually take what I do in collaborative law, family systems, proactively work with them. And so God bless that woman. She spent hours with me about, is this something I could really do? And what should I do? She flew me to California on her dime to see a family retreat. The only deal was I couldn't talk for 11 hours. And Scott, you know how hard that was.
Oh, yeah.
But I did it. She was happy about that.
Yep.
And I thank my stars every day that the summit introduced me to her because she opened up a whole new world of something I didn't know even existed.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be in the family business advising space if it wasn't for Carmen.
Interesting.
And
powerful EPI experience too.
Right,
then, right?
And it's a summit experience.
That's
I wouldn't have
crazy.
met her. I met her in Cleveland at the first Cleveland summit.
Cool.
Right?
Yeah,
and
very cool.
And your organization has helped me decide that it was okay to leave law.
Yeah. Wow.
And I did this training, and Chris loves to tell the story. I'm like, yeah, what am I going to do with this? And he's like, you'll figure it out. You'll just stay a lawyer. You'll figure it out. and I got a client, and I called your dad, and I'm like, oh my God, I got a client. What the hell do I do?
Now, and it's not a legal client. It's an advisory client for exit planning.
And Chris Snider and Scott Snider are always there to help you if you need it. Yeah. And he talked me through the frustrating first time jitters and did a great job. And this community is an amazing community. So I no longer practice law. I actually retired my license.
Oh, wow.
4 years ago.
I didn't know that. Wow.
And I work for the Family Business Consulting Group, which has been a phenomenal decision on my side.
I mean, your personality just fits so well because, we're our family business, right? So, particularly concentrating on family business, your personality has to fit so well with your clientele. It's just you're warming and welcoming, but also stern and like an advisory, if you will, right? So I think it's got to be. I think you would absolutely love what you do today. I think you would love it.
My husband has said, and my children have said, you are a totally different person to live with today.
Really? Wow.
Than when you did domestic relations law. And I was a good domestic relations lawyer. I did a lot of really good in that community. Yeah. But I was really bored at the end. Yeah. I was. Perhaps, and there is nothing boring about this job.
No, and it's all kinds of different forms of businesses, families. I would assume all kinds of different stuff. So it's almost new every day, and it has to be super fulfilling, right? When we talked this morning about successful companies and significant ones, to help an owner, and in your case, help an owner and a family perhaps move from a very year-over-year successful company to a long-term significant one, has to be really cool work to do.
And they take the information. I mean, like my journey with EPI, I was real big part of the ORT program.
Oh, wow.
Rolling out the owners forums,
right.
Doing the peer groups. And I take that material into every family engagement I'm in.
Yes.
Because it's my belief system that every generation has to know the value of their company before it transitions to future generations. Is it something that should be an in-kind transition? Is the company at a stage where it can feed more people? Or is it still relevant in the industry? Or is it time to create a legacy of wealth instead of the actual business?
You're right.
And, this information is critical for families to be educated on options.
Yeah.
And I'm challenging our community today that there is a sixth option. We teach 5, and I think there's a sixth.
Yes.
And the sixth option is a family venture capital or a family continual dividend opportunity.
Interesting.
So it's a continual legacy of money and wealth, but the family doesn't work there anymore, and it doesn't lead it. But your next generation knows how to hire the right non-family executives, select them, help select and use the right board of governance and family council, so that your systems are aligned and you can have multiple generations of dividend income that impacts future generations more than a one-time sale.
Absolutely. So we got to actually get you over to your session that you're hosting. So before you go, as the new exit planner of the year and somebody that's held their credential now for 10 years, what is your advice to all of our new SEPAs coming in? If you had to think of one thing on the spot to the 800 new folks that became SEPAs in the first quarter of this year, what is your recommendation to them as they embark on their SEPA journey?
It's a journey. It's a journey. Open your mind, open your ears, open your heart, and this community will give a lot to you.
Absolutely.
But more importantly, you will take that and you will change owners' lives for the better, and that is the purpose of this organization.
Absolutely.
Go out and make a difference.
Very well said. All right, Amy, well, thank you for being on the show. Everybody, we'll be right back.
For business owners, by a business owner. Walking to Destiny is your essential resource for understanding what makes your business highly profitable and significant. It becomes a business owner's handbook to know how to rapidly grow value and ultimately unlock the personal wealth trapped in business. Exit Planning Institute CEO Christopher Snider demonstrates how strategic exit planning will help you achieve improvements today while positioning you to build wealth for generations. Secure your success along other value creators. Discover, prepare, and decide what your walk to destiny will ultimately be. If executed correctly, these strategies can grow a business owner's wealth by 10 times. Walking to Destiny, the second edition, the 11 actions an owner must take to rapidly grow value and unlock wealth. Get your copy today at www.walkingtodestiny.com.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Exit Is Now podcast, hanging out with the Thought Leader of the Year, Joe C2. He also runs our Conejo Valley chapter of the Exit Planning Institute. I think you were Member of the Year last year as well, right, Joe?
I was.
So just on a award-winning train right now.
A little bit of a roll.
Last year, Member of the Year, for those of you that are not familiar, is really given to a SEPA that really dedicates a lot of time to the community, right, and is really about helping their peers grow both in knowledge and in relationships. Differently, the Thought Leader of the Year really has like a key project or a piece of content that they can hold on to that influences others. And so Joe actually kind of creates a lot of it, right? You had some really cool white papers that I just read that came out.
Yes.
You have a podcast yourself.
Yep.
But really what I think the community, when everybody was kind of voting and giving perspective on who should win this award, the Thought Leader of the Year went to you because of the amazing events, partnerships, and the State of Owner Readiness Survey that you brought to Los Angeles, LA County, and that kind of that Southern California market. And I would say super impressive. I think you're probably one of the best, if not the best, at taking it, leveraging it, and running with it, both from a really pure regional standpoint. So Can you talk to that project and talk to the whole thing, right? You've had meetings, you're in the newspapers and the magazines, and you have the State of Owner Readiness Survey. But talk to that, and I would invite people to follow him on LinkedIn, too, because you follow it there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, coming out of last year's event, I had always wanted to do one of those State of Owner Readiness surveys in Los Angeles, and it dawned on me that, we hadn't, number one, we had not done one in LA.
Right.
And I thought to myself, if we could really leverage the power of maybe like the Los Angeles Business Journal, which I had a connection there.
Right.
How could we take this idea that we're doing with EPI and state and owner readiness and really message it with them, because they had something like 80,000 viewers that are largely either business owners or C-suite executives. And so through collaboration with you, with your team, with the journal over the course of a couple of months, we were able to iron out the process, actually raise the sponsorship dollars to cover, the market research, cover the journal for their marketing costs. And so, I had a really good relationship with a large accounting firm and an estate planning firm who wanted to partner with us on the gold sponsors. They saw the vision, the need for it. And so we were able to pull it together. We ended up doing the research, I think, in August or September. We ended up having, I think, 320 owners completed it.
Yeah.
And we got that done. We were originally trying to do the event with the results at the end of 23, but we were running into some logistical issues with Thanksgiving and the holidays. We decided to push it into January. Fast forward, and we had something like 200, 250 people at the event, a number of owners and a lot of the professional community there to share in it and move it forward.
And you had some pretty favorable results, kind of like it mirrored what we saw in the 2023 survey, meaning that you and your fellow SEPAs and fellow chapters in that Southern California market are really getting the job done. I think much more educated than we've seen as compared to other regions. Certainly more ready and prepared. So what do you think, having that data now in your mind, what are you thinking? What does the next 5 to 10 years look like for you in that particular market?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of taking that education now to the next level, and in terms of actually engaging the advisors to do the work. I'll give you an example. While for example, one of the interesting things that came out of the survey was, while a lot of owners, because it's based on perception, feel they're higher educated and better ready to exit than they maybe were 10 years ago. For example, on the teams where it selected who were the advisors, even though, at least in the LA market, something like 45% of the transitions were going to be focused on family transitions, the estate attorney had only been sought for advice in 3 out of 10. And so there's still some disconnect when you actually peel back the layer of the onion and look at the actual practical implementation, as we know how we do exit planning and the value acceleration methodology. And I think having an awareness and education is one thing, the practical implementation is the next.
Exactly right. Yeah, exactly right. So what do you plan on now that you have that survey and you have some support from the media outlets? What's the next step? What's maybe forthcoming inside of the Conejo Valley and Southern California market?
Yeah, I think, again, now it's more owner actual events around it, whether it's, again, broadening the education with the advisory teams, making sure that they really understand how to practically implement this with their clients on an ongoing basis is really, I think, the next step.
So talk to me a little bit about, as well, how you've incorporated this methodology and exit planning into your existing firm, because you've evolved that over the years as well.
Sure, that's a great question. So one of the things that we've done at Morton is we actually created a flat fee offering called the Strategist that really takes the methodology that we've learned as an exit planner and meets the client where they are. And so we will conduct a triggering event where we'll do a baseline assessment, coordinating evaluation. Anything on the business improvement side, we are actually handing off to a value growth advisor or someone who can handle the business initiatives, but we're obviously handling the personal financial planning in-house. Between that, the triggering event, the 90-day sprints, and really collectively bringing the team together and helping hold them accountable. Mike Rudeau is one of my partners. He's a SEPA as well. Him and I are spearheading that for our advisors. And in fact, one of the beautiful things is we're on the Fidelity platform nationally, and so we compete with a number of other firms. And when we share with them, we have a flat fee offering for business owner that doesn't require assets under management. It heads and tails sets us apart amongst all the other firms because nobody else is doing that.
Yeah, that's super cool. And I think going back to a lot of the content that you're creating is super helpful too. Talk to me. Do you remember that white paper that I called you about? It was like demystifying exit planning or something like that. That's a super good one, both for, and if you're listening, owner or advisor, it was kind of tailored to really both, just a really solid read. I think I actually told you I was jealous. I wish I would have thought of that myself.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, can you get that white paper on your website, or where can I?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've got it on our website. We have the strategist offering, which outlines a couple of the white papers, a podcast, some of the material from EPI that we've taken and shared with it around just really everything related to transition readiness.
Yeah.
And so that white paper, and in fact, there's a collaborative effort with one of the other CEPAs here, Brian Moeller from Eagle Advisors.
Yes.
And I thought that was a great way to collaborate, because they do more of on the business improvement side,
right.
which is, we understand it, but that's not, again, our specific skill set. And so if we're going to be talking about collaboration, let's actually demonstrate it in our thought leadership.
Well, it's the perfect combination, right? The wealth manager and the business consultant, right? Those are, like, for me, the top two advisors that owners need to have, because those are the two concurrent paths.
Exactly.
Right. So last question. I know we got to get you off to another session as well, but what is up next for the Conejo Valley chapter? So you run one of the top chapters in the EPI network today. Where are we heading? What's any kind of cool insights into the chapter that we see?
Yeah, I think, look, it's continuing to grow our membership. We're at about 50 members.
Yep.
I think we're really looking forward to the leadership team, which we have is in place, is great. But actually, as I look at the internal dynamics of it, I've been running the chapter for 4 or 5 years. I think at a certain point, I want to think about transitioning it. So there's that. I think it's also continuing to think about how do we deliver. One of the reasons why I believe our chapter is successful is we put a lot of thought into the panels that we do on a monthly basis, the case studies. In fact, actually, this next month we're using the EPIC case study.
Oh, cool.
So really, again, focusing on growing the chapter through that, but also how do we make sure the infrastructure is sustainable for a decade to come. Those will be the main things. And then I think also potentially some additional owner-facing events in 2025.
Very cool. Well, I don't want to make you late for your session, so I really appreciate you hanging out, and congratulations again on Thought Leader of the Year, man.
Thanks, Scott.
Stick with us, and we'll be right back.
The Exit Planning Institute is the authority in exit planning. With its award-winning process, the Value Acceleration methodology provides deep insights into how to help business owners create more significant companies while blending and aligning their business, personal, and financial goals. EPI brings together the world's most elite exit planning advisors to form the EPI community. The EPI community represents over 15,000 professional advisors worldwide, including its 5,000 certified exit planning advisors. These advisors include financial advisors, growth consultants, CPAs, attorneys, M&A advisors, amongst others, who come together to expand their knowledge, create and innovate, network and relationship build, grow their practices, and better attract and engage business owner clients. Join EPI today and gain access to the community, content, courses, credential, and conference that you as the professional advisor need in order to harness the opportunity with small to lower middle market business owners who strive to grow a company of significance, thus having a highly valuable and transferable company. Follow the Exit Planning Institute on LinkedIn and visit earncepa.com to learn more about the community leading the exit planning profession.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Exit Is Now podcast with me, your host, Scott Snider, hanging out with the 2024 Member of the Year, Mike Garrison. Mike, welcome, my friend, welcome.
Awesome. It's an honor.
It is. It's an honor to have you a part of the EPI community. You're a fast tracker, my friend. I think you got certified like last year. I was looking in. You've just been so part of our community. You kind of dove right in. That when I was looking and preparing on what to say for each, what I wanted to say more personally for each one of our nominees, I was like, holy crap, Mike only just got certified like last year. So you're pretty involved. Talk about your CEPA experience, and then why the involvement like right out of the gate like that, which now has led you to becoming the Member of the Year.
So it's interesting. Like my short answer, because a lot of people have asked me.
Yeah.
But my short answer is it didn't feel like I did anything special.
Okay.
Like it was just easy.
Yeah.
Like the staff is consistent. They're wonderful. They're super helpful. And then all of my clients are pushing back and saying, "Oh man, you're incredible." But the reality is this is what I do, Scott.
Exactly.
This is the referral system.
Yes.
The referral system is all about human capital.
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
And you can scale human capital. I don't know that different types of marketing are appropriate for different situations, but nothing's better and nothing's faster because the same rules apply.
Exactly right.
Right? It's
Yeah.
math. That's why Paige and I were talking about it for an hour
hours.
yesterday. But like we geek out on it because, well, marketing's math. And like that's my thing. Referrals are math too, with the human capital part, which is
Yes.
why and then like I told you within the first hour of the live Q&A, day one of my SEPA, I sent you that text. I said, okay, value received. This is a great methodology. And by the way, I'd written that book. And then all it's been is you guys are like, hey, you interested in this? I'm like, yes.
Yeah, right.
Right, you know,
you have taken advantage of a lot of opportunities, and I think that's stepping up to the plate, right?
Yeah,
It really
like-
is,
Like, why not?
right?
I mean,
So talk to me about your
what's-
message, right?
What's special about being a part of a great organization?
Right, exactly right. Well, you kind of you took advantage of the opportunities, but you're also coming at it from a little bit different of an angle. So can you talk to me a little bit about and talk to the audience about what you do today for professional advisors in your own practice?
So I have a very small boutique coaching practice where I work with owners of financial services practice, and basically we implement what I do in the book, which is how to grow your business and love your life.
Right.
And it's an and, not an or.
Exactly right.
And so, a lot of what I do, so I have 2 graduations. This is
Right.
before value acceleration.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So
Yeah.
I used to do value acceleration. I just didn't have good terms. But like step number 1 for me was, as a financial advisor, licensed with clients, can you take 30 days off, no phone, no email?
Right.
Period.
Right.
Right? And
Yeah,
so
I know. Yeah, I know how hard it is.
right?
Yeah.
And but that you have to be de-risked and decentralized
Right.
to do
Exactly
it.
right.
And then the next one is, do you have to create income from your financial services business? We're still going to make a lot of money because we know the game.
Yeah.
But like the moment that they no longer have to rely upon a salary from the business, now we are at kind of that Robert Kiyosaki. We're not going to buy gold or copper.
Yeah.
But
Right. Exactly.
and that's what when I saw that the training, I was like, oh, this is it. And for me, particularly after not being a part of a community like this for a long period of time, it's been amazingly rewarding. And I would just tell people, if you're a SEPA, you need to come to the summit every year, right? And you need to get engaged because and you need to do Summit 49 because I got the other seat.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Summit 49 because the 50th seat is already taken.
It's I want the lifetime contract for the Summit 50 because that's what contributed to this, Scott. Getting able to hang out with
It was
you
a unique
guys,
experience.
Sean Hutchinson,
Yep.
big time last year.
It is a great experience. So what he's talking about, for our audience who doesn't know, the Summit 50 is a deep dive, I always say, experience. There's a couple of experiences that you can have here, right? You have your regular Summit experience, right, which is a great one. You have a VIP experience that dives a little deeper, and then the Summit 50, you're diving way deeper. There's only 50 people out of the 800 that are here this year. Only 50 people get together to really focus on building deep relationships with each other that, frankly, should result in doing business together at some time, right? So for a guy like you, that was an absolute great opportunity. And I was sitting there at the dinner yesterday with a bunch of people that were, in fact, already talking about, oh man, I'm a financial advisor. You're a value growth guy. We should certainly be doing a little bit of business together. But certainly a big community feel. So one of the new things that folks will see coming out at the Exit Planning Institute is part what we call our Beyond SEPA path, right? So one of the things that we've discovered now, after we've put through so many certified exit planning advisors through the program, so many advisors through the certified exit planning advisor program, is that we need to help them integrate what they've learned, not just develop new business, integrate the language, integrate services, everything that what it would take to go beyond just becoming a certified exit planning advisor. So I was lucky enough to be able to partner up with Mike and Tina to provide a virtual roundtable sessions where SEPAs can come and learn how to implement better their value acceleration knowledge. So can you talk to that a little bit more in depth? We'll probably see this debut in a couple of months. We soft launched it here at the summit, and I was telling you earlier that I already have emails earmarked, put away in a separate folder, because I think this is really what SEPAs are looking for to help get integrated.
Yeah, it's a unique thing. It's all your fault because you introduced me to, you referred me to Tina
Yes.
at the summit last year. Like, folks, you got to come to the summit.
Yes.
Right? But Tina and I got to know each other, and I have been spending a lot of time, because I like helping out, spend a lot of time talking to CEPAs that contact member experience and are trying to figure out how do we take it to the next level. I don't accept new clients right now from a coaching perspective. I do some consulting and other stuff. And I've been watching what's happening, and also as a CEPA, I know what it's like to take the designation and try and figure out how you're going to take on this huge responsibility.
Yeah. Potentially
Hundreds of people
Yes.
affected by your work. And it was intimidating. And you and I talked about it, and you're like, hey man, you don't have to be Sean Hutchinson today,
Yeah.
or Chris, right?
Yeah, right.
But what's unique for me is I've been thinking about everything, and I said, what we need is a learning process that's anchored in a regularly occurring community.
Yes.
And so that's the concept. Limited to 10 advisors. We're going to have a monthly meeting. There's going to be a referral training that Can I Borrow Your Car? If you're interested, buy the book now.
Yeah. Right.
Amazon, $20.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a great book, by the way, and super fascinating.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a bathroom book. You
Yeah.
can read it on the shitter. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
But that's the concept. Is we're going to literally have you design
Right.
what you want SEPA to be for you,
Right.
and then along with 9 other peers
Yep.
who are going to share your expertise and also add to it, facilitated by moderators that understand a referral system that's human and predictable. And then Tina Corner-Stoltz is she's the top of the top when it comes to peer advisory.
Yeah, exactly. She wrote, her book was endorsed by Forbes, so a book around facilitating the appropriate roundtable discussion. So we'll look for that as we start to build that all out and debut it, but another opportunities for CEPAs to deepen their knowledge and then learn from each other, as well as a facilitator that's an expert within the space. So last question, and we'll get you into sessions, or maybe we could have a celebratory drink or something. Nonetheless, I've been asking all of our award winners, because now, at least for the next year, up until next year's summit, people will look to you for more advice. And for those of you that don't know the member of the year, the member of the year is given to somebody that is a giver. So he's already taking probably a lot of phone calls and delivering a lot of advice to his peers. But nevertheless, I said this morning that we had 811 new people become CEPAs through the first 4 months of the year.
It's insane.
Those people are like you, man. They're super excited, but they're also kind of not confused, but like, where do I begin, right? There's a lot. It's like drinking from the fire hose, and you're really excited. So as a not only a member of the year now, but as a newer CEPA yourself, what is some advice that you can give to those new folks that are hanging out with us today at the summit, and those people that will become CEPAs in the future?
It's 2 parts.
Okay.
Number 1, engage with staff. Engage with the EPI staff.
true.
They are, it's funny, but like Paige and other people on staff will verify that I'll email and say, hey, what about this person?
Yeah. You lean into us, so I love that advice. I love that advice.
So one of the great values of referral network is not just business, but it's validation, verification, research, because that's what we do as professional salespeople. But the other thing I would say is that embrace what we teach, which is this is collaboration.
Right.
Right? The trap that you will get into, either via ego or insecurity, is feeling like you need to be an attorney, you need to be a CPA, you need to be Chris Snider, right? You need to be all these people. And that nothing could be farther from the truth. Nothing could be less helpful for you or your potential clients. And when I realized that, ironically, I started talking to more business owners and I started having more opportunities. I don't accept a lot of clients because I've got this friend in Cleveland and he's kind of locked up the next couple of years. But that's what I would say is you'll make great money and have great impact if you collaborate. And I just want to say it again. I collaborate with people I met at the summit.
Yeah, exactly right. I think it's we always say, look, and talking about that Beyond CEPA path, it's a natural next step for a lot of the new CEPAs, because today you go through the CEPA program virtually. Not that you don't get to necessarily meet you don't necessarily meet a lot of people, but you meet some. But really, you can come here and then again deepen relationships and deepen your knowledge. So
this is my chapter meeting.
this is like I hear that actually from a few others, right? Like I don't have a chapter in my local community, but I just got my big annual chapter meeting is really just come to the Exit Planning Summit, deepen knowledge, deepen relationships, and then learn from some more veteran CPAs too that have been doing it a while through like case study sessions and things of that nature.
Everybody will help you.
It is. Well, they're like you, right? They embrace that collaboration and connection that I think CPAs are really known for. So, Mike, we got to get back into sessions, my friend. I appreciate you hanging out. Congratulations again. Thanks. Everybody stick with us. We'll be right back. Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Exit Is Now podcast. Hanging out with Scott here, who actually sponsored this stage. Sponsor the podcast stage.
Yes, I did.
So you're going to see Scott too on another episode of Exit Is Now. We're going to get him into the Cleveland studio. But welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're doing inside of the EPI community, inside of the professional advisory space?
Yeah, so Cornerstone Business Services is an investment banking firm, boutique investment bank, and we've been working with financial advisors and CPAs, kind of that trusted advisor for the last more than 2 decades, and working together with them, helping give them information and materials to help start the conversation early, but then we'll come in and do the valuation and then make sure that they get in early and then also eventually sell the company, maximize the value of selling the company.
So one of the things that's on my mind, I've been talking about this with each one of the guests, it's kind of the big thing for the year so far, is the 2023 National State of Owner Readiness Survey. So it looks like owners are more ready than they've ever been, but it also looks like it's generational. So let's start at the high level and we'll maybe peel a layer of the onion back.
Right.
So do you feel that in your work that we always have this lingering statistic that 70% of the business put on the market don't sell? Do you see improvement in that? Because the State of Owner Readiness Survey would suggest that we're getting better.
I think it is getting better. I think it's interesting. I've been doing this for 25 years now, and still, you think with all the information out there and Google and everything else that mistakes that people made 20, 30, 40 years ago wouldn't be made anymore.
Right.
But they're still making so many of those. I think a lot of it's due to confidentiality.
Yes.
Nobody wants to go and talk to their buddy at at dinner. Hey, I'm thinking about selling my company. How did you do it, or what should I do? Because their employees could hear, or their competitors could find out, and nothing good happens if somebody thinks you're going to be selling your company. But I do think it's getting better, and as the companies get larger, I think there's just more thought put into it. But yeah, your survey showed that from 10 years ago, it's amazing how much more prepared. At least people are more aware of things. But still, ironically, the largest segment of business owners that are still out there at 51%, the boomers that are the closest to typical retirement age, are seem to be the least educated.
Still the least ready, and it's I guess I think it's honestly a little surprising to me.
Yeah, I was surprised.
Yeah, but I think that do you? So I keep talking about these boomerang owners, right? So I think there are people in their 40s, maybe 50s, certainly in their 30s that might grow and sell. Do you see a lot of that?
We are seeing that. Yeah, we've sold in the last probably 5 years. We've sold more businesses of people in their 40s than we had probably in the last decade.
Are they going out and buying more business, starting a business?
Yeah, they are. A lot of them are. They're going, hey, I've been doing this since out of high school or right after college, and I'm bored.
Yeah.
I built this to where I think I need it to be. I've got some other ideas in my head. Let's sell this. Let's maximize the value, and then I'll go on and start something else that I'm passionate about. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that we're going to see a lot of that. That's why I think the next 10 years is I think going to be a kind of an interesting market for the EPI community, right? Because
100%.
If you can actually grow a business with value acceleration methodology in mind and then sell it, you might be able to do it again and again and again.
100%, and that's what we're seeing is that the ones that get in early, they're listening to this, they're educating themselves, and yeah, it's like a 10 to 15 year window. They get bored, they flip it, and then they go on to the next.
Go ahead. Sorry.
And I think boomers, they got into one 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago. And that's the one they're staying until they're done. And that's what I find interesting is that we used to always focus on, kind of that 55 to 70-year-old. That was the person we really wanted to get in front of. And now it could be that 45-year-old that's got a really nice company that they want to get out. So it does, to your point of going from a 10 trillion to 14 trillion opportunity.
Yes.
Because now you're looking down at from 45 to 70 or 75 or whatever it is. It's a big chunk of the business.
Well, I would assume, that's why I kind of smiled. I assume those would be like great clients for you, right?
For sure.
So
Absolutely.
I sell at 45, you help me buy another business.
Right.
Then I sell that at 58 or 60 and maybe buy another one. I think that would be, talk about like a valued and trusted advisor.
Absolutely.
You can do that multiple times with your client. So the other thing that's on my mind is, since you're in this, certainly in the space, an expert in the space, is where are owners failing? So you see a ton of deals, I would assume. where are they failing when they actually, let's maybe two-part question. The first part, where are they failing when they come to you? You look at their business and you go, hey, we need to do a little work, or hey, maybe not worth it, what you think it's going to be. What were their struggle points there?
Yeah, I'd say the two biggest things that they're not doing. Number one is they're not planning soon enough. By the time they come to us, there's another survey that we do through the M&A Source and some other groups.
Yeah.
And the number one reason businesses are selling are retirement, which is good, as long as they hopefully did some planning. But number two is burnout, and they're tired. So most of them are coming to us going, hey, we're done.
Right.
It's still 2, 3, 4 million EBITDA company. It's still a nice company.
Yeah, nice company.
But they're out. They're done. They want to get out. So they don't spend the time to truly prepare it. And number two is they don't build a specialized team around them. So if people build a specialized team around them and they prepare sooner, the odds of selling, not only selling, but truly maximizing that value is kind of best in class, as you guys talk, goes off the charts compared to someone that thinks they can do it themselves, or they're just going to take an unsolicited offer from a buyer out there.
Yeah.
We have a special program now just for sellers that get unsolicited offers, how we can compete with them and build a little environment around that, an auction-like environment, and it's amazing. Now, once is the seller's always worried, well, I don't want to do anything because I could lose this buyer. Well, not once have we ever lost a buyer in 3 years, and not once has that buyer ever been the one that they bought the company.
Interesting.
So it is, and then I think, if you go to, once they get to us and they are selling, I think the number one thing that they're doing, especially the boomer range, is they are still the company. No matter what the size, there's still a true piece of that company, and usually a pretty critical piece. It's like, well, I don't do all the sales. Well, who takes care of the top five? I just have the top 5 customers. Well, that's 60%.
Well, yeah,
of the company.
that's 60% of the company, right?
So I think that's usually the biggest one is, have they taken the time to build out a management team? Because, again, what's that buyer buying? They're buying the future cash flow. Who's going to create that future cash flow? Because if all the key people that proved that they could do it are walking out the door a year after the sale, then what did I buy? How transferable is it? So that's usually the number one thing, is just building out that management team.
Yeah. So now let's get into the deal, right? So you're 12 months into this thing, and now we got something on a piece of paper. Where do deals fail?
Yeah, I think if a deal's going to fail, it is that business owner that takes their eye off the ball. And we say, okay, it's a $3 million EBITDA company at a 6 multiple, so it's $18 million. And then, comes all the diligence and all the quality of earnings, and that takes 2 or 3 months to do. And if they take their eye, if they're burnt out, but you don't see those symptoms, and then it plays itself out while you're in that process, and all of a sudden now it's not $3 million EBITDA anymore, it's 2.5. Well, I'll still pay a 6 multiple, but now it's 6 times 2.5, not 3.
Well, yeah, because it's just simple math, right? It's just simple math.
And I think it's that, and I think it's sometimes it's emotionally. They can't. We've had it where we've done deals where we had 4 different offers, and the benchmark that we had between us and the sellers was 18.5, and of course we don't go to market with any kind of an asking price. We had a buyer at 23.5, and they wanted 18.5, and they just pulled the plug. 2 80-year-old guys. Weren't even in the business. One was here in Florida. One was up in Iowa. Didn't do anything in the business, but they just emotionally couldn't let go because well, what are we going to talk to our buddies about anymore? We don't have anything to talk about. It was our purpose. But I would say it's typically the financials, that they don't have clean financials. They don't have audited financials. They haven't done, we recommend for any company over 10 million in revenue or 2 in EBITDA, they do a sell side Q of E ahead of time. So it's the same thing the buyer's going to do, but let's do it ahead of time.
So we know.
If there's any skeletons in the closets, let's figure that out. Is there anything else that we need to know about? And we can either take the time to change it, or we go to market and, we always like to say, go ugly early. It's like, hey, here's our company. We're not perfect. Here's an issue. But, and then because buyers are so much better going up front going, oh yeah, we can deal with that. And wow, Scott's a really credible guy because he brought that issue up front. Most people try to hide it.
Yes.
And
so we'll just tell you up front.
Because they are going to find it. Private equity groups and everybody else, like we just did an event in Green Bay, and we asked 4 different private equity firms, what do they pay for buy side expenses to do a deal? Guess what the average fee was that they pay to?
I would have no idea. What is it?
$1 million.
Really?
Around $1 million. So you think if you're spending $1 million with these people, they are going to find anything out there.
Exactly,
so it's ridiculous. Right? So they don't want to.
They're doing. You're saying they're doing it, right?
Yeah. So it's don't hide anything. You've got to come out early to us so we know what it is, because nobody likes surprises, especially the closer you get to closing.
Yeah, that's super interesting. What I was thinking about is, what was that range in EBITDA or revenue that you would suggest that a seller go do that?
Yeah, I would say once they hit 10 million in sales or 2 in EBITDA, that's where you really want to turn your own diligence up before you go. And even because you could even, if you don't have audited statements, at least do that QV before.
Yeah.
It might be 35 to 50 grand, could be more, could be less, but that investment is going to be good because we've talked to a lot of buyers out there that said, let's just say it's typically a 5 multiple, or somewhere in that range. Well, we'll probably play somewhere around if we think it's 5.5, we'll probably pay somewhere around a 5 because we know we're going to find something in diligence.
Right.
And we know that the seller hates retrading the deal. We don't want to retrade the deal and upset the seller.
Right.
So we'll just come in a half turn less, knowing that we got some fudge room. Well, now if it's a audited statements or if it's a QV done, now they can put more faith in those numbers and say, no, we'll pay the 5.5 because we know those numbers are solid and the odds of retrading are much lower. So that, if you're talking a $2 million EBITDA company getting an extra half turn, you spend 35, 50 grand, you get an extra $1 million.
Yep.
Numbers work.
Absolutely. So in closing, I've been kind of asking all of our guests here on the Summit Edition is, where are we heading? So we saw the 23 research, right? We can compare it to 10 years prior, back in 2013. But what does the next 5 or 10 years look like from your perspective?
I think they're going to be the busiest we've ever seen.
Yeah.
If you look at your states, because I remember when I started this 25 years ago, thinking, boy, the boomers are almost to retirement age.
Right.
And
that
now
was 25 years ago,
and now
right?
the
They're
average
they're pretty young.
Yeah, now the average is 68.
Right.
The youngest is turning 60 this year.
Right.
And if you think about, they're 51%, and there was 4.3, I think you guys said. So there's over 2 million businesses that are baby boomers. And we've seen that once they get over 70, there's a correlation that they do not sell as well. They're personally involved in that business. They can't leave it. They don't know what they're going to do. Their bodies don't work as well, so they're not going to travel and play golf all over the place. So we have a much lower closing ratio from someone 70 or over than we do anybody under. So we think the next 5 years are going to be ridiculous because not only do you have the Gen X coming through the first wave, but you're going to have all these boomers because if, God forbid, if we're sitting here and there's still 2 million baby boomer business owners and the average age is 78, that means somewhere in their 85 to
the upper range.
That's going to be a bad. That's going to be a big problem for
thing.
the whole United States. That's going to be a bad
really
problem with all the employees.
Really
So that's what our goal is to, with the book and workbook that we have and everything else that we've done, is to try to educate these business owners as much as possible, just so they understand what all their options are and know to build a team around them and to start planning sooner. Good things are going to happen to them. But if not, most people stick their head in the sand, wake up one day and go, it's not fun anymore. And usually it doesn't work out very well for them.
Man. Well, thanks for the insights, man. We're going to go out to the social now and conclude our summit. But I really appreciate all your involvement. Another, for all of our advisors looking, watching and listening to the show, another great advisor that we could lean into to help support our business owners exit successfully. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. And we'll see you next time. Thanks. Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Exit Is Now podcast, hanging out with Mike Trabert. I would say Mike, a longtime SEPA, a fellow Clevelander, if you will. Yep. He is sitting on my panel later here today in the Exit Planning Summit as well. But how long have you been a SEPA, Mike? When do you remember?
I've been a SEPA, Scott, since 2011. 2011. In fact, when Chris asked last year, and I think there was about 650 people at the summit, he said, anybody that's had their SEPA 2011 or longer, stand up. And as I looked around the room, I think there was maybe 8 of us.
Yeah, so you'll be celebrating your anniversary. We celebrate 15 years of being a SEPA. You'll be coming up pretty damn quick soon.
Yeah,
so
looking forward to it.
So you've seen a lot of change go on in the space as well. And one of the reasons that I find it interesting, you're probably one of the most successful, if not the most successful CPA that has incorporated this into their practice. But I asked you this on the phone the other day in preparation. Would you say that you're a CPA? So talk about that, though, because I would be interested to see how a guy, a part of an accounting firm, is positioning himself to business owners.
So when I am asked the question, what do you do? It's, yes, I am a CPA by trade, but I specialize in exit planning.
Yes.
Because, people don't want to talk to CPAs. They run away from CPAs. And the cocktail party joke is, how do you tell the difference between an actuary and a CPA? Well, the actuary looks at the other guy's shoes. And we as CPAs look at our own shoes.
Right,
no
exactly.
eye contact.
Yeah. So how have you, since becoming a SEPA, incorporated the value acceleration methodology into what you do for business owners and what the firm does for owners as well?
Well, part of that is with Chris. Chris had the wonderful idea of starting the Owners Roundtable series, and I did it with Chris as he started that. And as I often say, I learned from the guy that literally wrote the book. Right. And so Chris and I did about maybe 10 ORTs, we call them Owners Roundtables, together. And then we just completed our 25th ORT in the Virgin Islands a couple months ago.
Yeah, so talk a little bit about that, too, because I think you were like the original test that when we created the ORTs, Dad was like, hey, let's team up with your firm, because at the before your firm was bought, I guess, acquired by what is now Markham, right?
Right,
Markham,
merged with Markham.
Merged with Markham. Local Cleveland guy, we said, look, let's get access to a huge set of business owners, a part of a well-known accounting firm, and let's start identify maybe 100 of them that we could start to bring through. And I always thought it was funny. I don't know if I've ever told you this story. One of a client and friend that we share is the Cult family back home in Cleveland. Mm-hmm. And I sent Joe Cult, the young guy.
Right, Joseph.
Joseph, if you will, to an owner, your owner's roundtable. Yep. And he called, well, first off, kind of like a typical owner. He's like, dude, my dad's got me working my ass off right now. I don't have time to go to an advisory lunch. And he's a young guy. He's like 10 years younger than me. Uh-huh. And he's like, dude, I just don't have time. I'm like the plant. At the time, he was the plant manager. I think now he's the vice president. But at the time, he was a plant manager.
Right.
And he's like, dude, I just don't have time. I was like, Joe, you sound like every friggin' owner we always talk to. Just trust me. Go to this thing. Uh-huh. So he went to your roundtable. And I don't know if I ever told you this. He called me right out of the gate. And he said, dude, I learned more at that roundtable than I did from my dad and my college career. Wow. Super impactful to him as a next generation business owner, right? Because and they have quite a large manufacturing company in Cleveland, third generation. Yep. So if followers of and listeners to our podcast might remember Joe, because he was on the podcast as well, talking about his journey as a third generation now business owner. Mm-hmm. So talk about that impact that you might have at your roundtables, because now you're doing them like on cruise ships.
So no, I did not hear that story, Scott. So thank you very much for sharing that. And it's wonderful to hear a story like that. And so we've had, the stats are, I think, about 15% or so second generations of the ORT attendees in the past. And what we're seeing now is that it's 14% of the attendees are repeat attendees. So I think we're doing something right.
Yeah, so they're coming back for more.
They're coming back for more. In fact, one business owner has been to all 4 of the international owners roundtables. And to your comment earlier, the first one we did internationally, I facilitated on a cruise ship that went to Cuba. We went to Turks and Caicos Resort, a resort in Cayman Islands, and a few months ago we did St. Thomas.
Super cool.
And so one of the comments from the 4, and we have multiple 3-time attendees, is that we have to cover the core curriculum in the 5 stages of development maturity.
Okay.
But one of the comments is Mike always keeps it fresh. And so like last year in St. Thomas, we had 7 virtual guest speakers on various topics. And when we do it internationally then, Scott, we have the luxury of having an extra half day, because when we do it locally, we do it one solid day, and we have a working lunch. You have like 10 minutes for lunch, and grab your lunch, come back at a room. Just as you often say, it's like drinking from a fire hose.
It is.
The summit and the roundtable is as well. But when we do it internationally, we have 3 like half days. We'll start like 8:30 in the morning and run till about 1 o'clock or so. And so the owners and their significant others could have the afternoon free and the evenings free. And I think that, and one of the comments that really I thought was very positive from 2 years ago in Cayman Islands is the owners roundtable attending this. It pulls me as an owner. This is a comment from an owner. Pulls me as an owner away from the business and being a doer to function more as being an owner.
Absolutely.
And then being out of the continent even, they viewed that as a benefit because they're less likely to be in touch with the business when they're gone and that far away.
Yeah, 100%. I think that when the 2023 National State of Owner Readiness Survey came out, one of the things that the questions and what we survey is how educated the business owners are. And I'd like to honestly thank you, because it's for guys like you that take the time out to educate owners that we're in the position that we are in today, which are owners in the 2023 National Survey, much more educated than ever before. And because they're more educated, they're actually much more ready. Do you find that the same? So the people that are coming through your courses, do you find that they're actually taking on? It's not just education just for knowledge. It's education that actually takes action.
Yes, you're right. They are putting it into action. And what we always say about the ORTs is it's about awareness and education. And to your point about education, I know you talked a lot about that when you were at the U.S. Senate as well. And we always say it's about awareness and education. We're not selling anything. We're educating. And yes, and what we started doing then, Scott, is, and you guys within the methodology talk about the 90-day action plans.
Right.
And so one of the last things that we do in the ORT, we go around the room, and we ask each owner, okay, no more than 5 business, no more than 5 personal. It could be 3 in 1 or whatever. We're putting them we're writing them on the board. Send out the workshop notes afterwards, and then 90 days later, exactly 90 days later, I host a virtual accountability workshop, we call it.
Interesting.
And all the owners that attend, and most of them do, and most of them have done their homework.
That's good.
They've accomplished probably, I gave them generally I give them like a B+ or so in the aggregate of things that they've accomplished.
I think that's absolutely phenomenal. And I think that it's cool that you're still doing that many years later too, because we teach at EPI that the owners' roundtables are some of the most effective ways to actually create action. Because it's, to me, as an owner myself, it's really the best of both worlds. One, I get to share that experience with fellow owners around the table, so I'm learning from my peers who have grown companies, who have big companies, small companies, and everywhere in between, but we probably share similar desires and pain points because we're all entrepreneurs and business owners. And then, the second thing, I get to get educated from an expert advisor like you. So it's like, what a great platform. I honestly wish the SEPA community would lean a little bit more into it, but I think sometimes they're hesitant because it is a lot of work, right? I mean, it's a lot of work.
It is, but what we often say now is, Scott, that we have the preparation down. We've done it 25 times now.
Yeah.
We have the format down, the local and international. We have the content down, the 5 stages of value maturity as the core. We have the delivery down, and then we bring in guest speakers to spice it up a bit on topics of importance of business owners. And to your point about being there with other business owners, yes, I'm facilitating workshops, but they're not just learning from me as a facilitator. The other owners in the room, we handle this particular thing this way. And so people are walking away with ideas.
So, interesting question, I guess. If I'm a certified exit planning advisor, maybe one of the younger, newer SEPAs, right, that have just become a SEPA, and I'm looking to partner with guys like you that are effective like this, but I'm a complimentary advisor to you. Are you interested in partnerships?
Oh, absolutely. Because, as you know, the 5th stage of value maturity is managed value, which is personal financial planning and estate planning. And me as a CPA, I don't speak very much about that topic, so we'll bring in a wealth manager for stage 5, and they probably need a little tutelage on the content that's to be covered. But we could certainly partner because, again, we have everything else down.
So last question, we're going to get you back into sessions is, we talked about this kind of next evolution of exit planning. With Dad's 2nd edition of his book is out. The 2023 National State of Owner Readiness Survey is out. From a guy that's been doing it a long time and has a lot of exposure to a lot of business owners, where do you think we're going in the next 5 or 10 years, both from a profession and then a whole market with business owners?
Well, I love what you guys have done, you and Chris.
Thank you.
And you built this very successfully, and the numbers of the summit, and I've rarely missed a summit since I've been a SEPA, and to see the numbers grow each year, and the statistics from the survey point that out, that owners are more educated. And your comment about your dad's book, Walking to Destiny, every owner's roundtable that I do facilitate, I give out to each owner a copy of Walking to Destiny. And so I gave it to a business owner, and he read it while he was in Florida. And he came back and he says, Mike, I finished reading the book, and I should have started this years ago. And I said, well, John Doe, I said, there's a sign at the gym, and there's a picture of a middle-aged person, and it says, when is the best time to start working out was 10 years ago. The next best time is now. So he got the message.
Exactly.
And that's why I love the name of the podcast also, Scott. The exit is now.
The exit is right now. That's all around us, right?
Yep. It's not a future event.
It is not. It's present tense, right? Exit strategy is business strategy. There's nothing different. All right, Mike, I got to get you back into sessions. I appreciate hanging out on the show. Man. Mike is also an exit planner of the year himself. So if you go to the EPI blog for all of our listeners, type in excellence in exit planning, you could read Mike's story as well with that, Mike. Thank you very much, man. We'll see you soon.
Scott, thanks.
Thanks.